Okay, everybody, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so welcome to our Communicating with Legislators presentation. In this presentation, we'll show you how to find legislators and their contact information, and then provide some tips on how you can communicate with them to be the best advocates you can for your issues. So just a little bit about the Public Access Room. We are a nonpartisan, taxpayer-funded office at the state capitol. Our primary responsibility is to enhance the public's ability to participate in the legislative process. We do that by teaching about the process like we're doing here. We create lots of informational material. We can answer questions and point you to resources. We have a physical office at the state capitol where you can use public computers, make copies of your testimony, use our tables for workspace, recharge your phones, laptops, tablets. You can watch hearings on the television sets we have here. We offer workshops and tutorials to help you learn more about what we have, about what lawmakers do here at the Capitol and how bills become law. The Capitol building is closed right now, but when the building reopens, we hope to have you come visit us. And more information can be found on our website, lrb.hawaii.gov/PAR. So why advocate? Why should the public get involved? Really, advocacy is important because it helps to keep our democracy healthy and it connects citizens to our government. When you get involved, you have a say in how you're governed, and it also helps keep those who govern us accountable. Citizen participation helps improve the quality of decisions lawmakers make, and these are decisions that have an impact on all of us. So getting involved lets you play a part in what happens in your communities. Your efforts are key in helping to shape state law. Lawmakers cannot know all the issues or how these issues affect your lives. So that's where you come in. You should share your views, experiences, expertise with them to help them make the best laws they can for the state of Hawaii. They want and need to hear from you. So you now know why it's important to get involved and why you need to talk to your legislators. The next step to figure out is who you want to talk to. Most people start talking to their own representative and senator. If you don't already know who they are, the legislature's website, capitol.hawaii.gov, has a search tool in the upper right corner of the website that you can use to find them. Head over to the capitol.hawaii.gov and click on the Find Your Legislator link. So the upper right corner right there. That'll bring you to a search box and where you can type in your street address, and that's on the right side. This is a new feature, so you type in your entire address, then click on the magnifying glass on the right. For example, if I lived here at the Capitol, I type in the street address here at the Capitol, that's 415 South Baratania Street. Click on the magnifying glass. And up will come my Senate and House district information. I can click on Senate district information to see my senator, or House district information to see my representative. You'll even be able to see the district boundaries. Here we see the Senate district in blue, the House district is there in red. So I clicked on Senate district so I can see my senator. Here, my senator is Senator Rhodes. His contact information is listed here. To see your representative, you just click on the representative district. So who else can you talk to? Well, you're not limited to just talking to your own senator and representative. Depending on what your issues are, what you want to talk about, there's other people that you can talk to as well. You can talk to Senate and House leadership. This is the Senate president, the House speaker, vice president, vice speaker, majority leaders, whips. It just kind of depends on what it is you're trying to accomplish. Leadership is the group of legislators that really are responsible for deciding what bills or issues that should be a priority for that particular session. So they're good people to contact. But you can also talk to committee chairs and committee members. You want to talk to chairs of committees to ask them to schedule a bill for a hearing or not schedule a bill if you don't want a bill to move forward. You can ask them to prioritize bills that are important to you, or let them know what types of policy issues you want their committees to focus on. You can even talk to all members. Maybe you have something that you want to get across to every member. Before a big floor vote, you might want to email all the senators and representatives to share your views on that particular bill that they'll be voting on. You can do this. So there is 2 email addresses to use to contact all legislators. If you want to contact all senators, instead of having to cut and paste each senator's address into your email field, you can just type in SENS, SENS, at capital.hawaii.gov, and that will reach all 25 senators. For the representatives, it's REPS, R-E-P-S, at capital.hawaii.gov, and that will reach all 51 representatives. So you can view House and Senate leadership on the legislature's website just by going to the Capitol website's homepage. On the right side, you see Senate and House tabs. So if I wanted to see my Senate leadership, I can just click on the Senate tab. When the Senate page opens up, I'll click on leadership. And up will come Senate leadership or House leadership if you're viewing the House page. So these are the people in each chamber that are most responsible for setting and pushing legislative priorities. The Senate President and House Speaker are also responsible for determining who sits on which committee, who chairs those committees, and what committees a bill must go through its referral sheet. If you wanted to take a look at the committees, I think there's 18 committees in the House and 16 committees in the Senate. You click on the committees tab. It'll bring up the committees page where you can just look at Senate committees or House committees by using the blue buttons at the top. You click on the committee's name to find more information about that committee, and pictures will be the chair and vice chair. The chairs have a lot of power in the process because all it takes is one chair to stop a bill from moving forward. Here you can see the scope of the committee members, the chair, the vice chair, all the measures that are currently in that committee, and just a little bit about the members. If you're not getting anywhere with the chair, if you email the chair and not getting anywhere with the chair, you can also talk to some of the members and see if they can help you out. Okay, and if you wanted to see all 76 legislators, you just click on the legislators tab. And then searching through legislators, some of them may have experience with issues that you're working on. They may have, chair or are members of the committees that, you're interested in. So what I would recommend is you click on the legislators tab. Up will come up all senators and representatives in alphabetical order. And you can toggle them just by looking at senators or representatives. Go onto their pages, take a look at their bio. Some of them may have experience with the types of bills that you're interested in. And also, while most bills pass floor votes, if you're worried, you can contact all members of the chamber. This can be a good way to spread your message. And just leave a simple message. It gives legislators something to think about. And again, you can use the SENS at capital.hawaii.gov or reps at capital.hawaii.gov emails to reach them. The public access room also has a list of information for session, we have various lists of representatives and senators and their contact information. You can just click on the current legislature tab. And then click on the legislative directory, room, phone, fax, and email. And up will come our contact information with all the legislators, their contact information on the first page. And on the back page, it is all of the legislators' email address. So you can go here as well. You can go to the website to find information. You can also go to the public access room website. We also have a lot of good information. And so whichever you choose. Okay, So you figured out who you want to communicate with. You can determine which way do you want to communicate, either by email or a phone call, a letter, or meeting with legislators in person. COVID-19 has made this kind of difficult. Some of them actually meet with their constituents via Zoom, so that might be an option, or via social media. And if you follow your legislators on Facebook or Instagram, you can leave messages for them, or communicate under their stories. And addressing a legislator, a simple senator, representative will suffice. You can also address them by their leadership titles or by chair or vice chair if they're serving those roles. Okay, so we figured out who it is we want to talk to and how we want to reach them. Now we have to figure out what we want to say. Is there something that you want the legislator to help you with? Maybe you're just having trouble with an unemployment claim or waiting on a response from a state agency. Perhaps you have concerns about homelessness in your community. These are things your legislators can assist with. So any issue that the state has some type of ownership over, your legislators should be able to help assist you. Maybe you just want to talk about pesticides or a pesticides bill making its way through the legislature, or climate change, or whatever it is. You can even suggest certain policy issues your legislator should focus on, like the cost of living, the cost of housing. You can ask your legislator to introduce a bill on your behalf, or maybe you just want to voice your concerns. So just identify what it is you want to talk to your legislator about. Okay, once you identify your goal, it's always a good idea to kind of sketch out a quick outline of what it is you want to discuss. Be sure to provide details and specifics for any community or personal issues you want your legislator to help you with. And if you come to your legislator with problems, try to have solutions. Have solutions for the problems that you want to bring to their attention. How can they best assist you? If you're contacting them for their support or opposition to a bill before the legislature, you want to let them know why you've taken that position. How would the bill affect you? How would it affect your family, your community, your profession, your job, whatever it is? They want to know how this affects you. And timing is key. So you want to talk to them before an action is taken. So you always want to talk to a legislator before they're taking an action, making a vote. If you're asking a legislator to introduce a bill on your behalf, you always want to explain what you want the bill to do and why it's necessary. If the bill requires an allocation of funds, try to figure out where the money should come from and how much is needed. You can ask your legislators advice for that kinds of information. You can also ask them if there are alternatives to accomplish what it is you want to accomplish. Sometimes bills are not necessary. All it takes is a memo from a legislator to a state agency, and they can get the issue resolved that way. And short and straightforward communication always works best. Okay, if you decided on sending an email or a letter, here's some tips. You always want to explain your reasons for writing. You can say, "Dear Senator, I'm a constituent who lives in your district. I'm writing because, dear Representative, HB 2500 is up for third reading tomorrow. If enacted, it will have a devastating effect on my business. Dear Chair, over-tourism is having an adverse effect on the people of Hawaii. What is your committee doing to address this concern?" You always want to explain why you're writing to them. You want to be clear and specific and get quickly to the point. Sometimes it's a complicated issue, in which case you can provide a brief summary and let the legislator know that you're willing to follow up with additional information if necessary. You always want to let your legislator know that you're a constituent, because your message will become a priority. Why? Why is that? Well, because they recognize that you're a vote and they want to do the best job they can for you, because they want you to vote for them again. So, let them know. If you're emailing, you can put it in the, you can put that right up in the subject line. I live on Kewalo, dear representative, or you just address it to Representative Belatti. That's my representative. I live on Kewalo Street. I need your assistance with this issue. So those are things that can be helpful in emailing them. If you're writing a handwritten letter, you want to make sure that you write legibly. Don't write in cursive. If it's going to be hard for them to understand. Make sure to provide your name and contact information so they can get back to you. And remember that timing is crucial when sending messages. You want to get your messages to them before they need to act and not after. If you want to reply, make sure to make the ask, in the letter or the email. Look forward to hearing back from you. Looking forward to your follow-up. Anything to let them know that the ball is in their court and you're expecting their follow-up and their action. And then tell the truth and be respectful. That is how you build relationships at the Capitol. Okay, when you're calling a legislator's office, you're going to be talking to their staff, unless you call at the same time a legislator is expecting a call. They may answer the phone by mistake, and that would be kind of funny. But if you want to speak to a legislator, you have to make the ask of the staffer. If Senator has some time, I appreciate a call back. I'd like to hear back from representative. You have to make the ask if you want to speak to a legislator. If you're calling your own legislator, you want to identify yourself as a constituent because, again, you'll become a priority. You want to speak slowly and clearly so the staffer can understand what it is you're calling about. And let the staff know why you're calling. You can say, hey, hi, my name is Keanu. I'm a constituent. I live on 10th Avenue in Kaimuki. I want to talk to Representative Kobayashi about a CAP project for the Kaimuki Public Library. Or I have concerns about the minimum wage. I want to get the senator's views on SB 1777, which raises the vehicle weight tax. Please ask senators to support HB 2011, which funds various senior programs, including Meals on Wheels. Whatever your reason is for making contact, you want to let them know. And be brief and specific because legislative offices are busy. So you don't want to keep staffers on the phone for too long because that takes time away from them helping you. And you always want to leave your name and contact information along with your message so they can get back to you. Give them a few days. And if you haven't heard back from them, call them back or try to communicate them with them in another way. Okay, meeting in person. If you're scheduled an in-person meeting with the legislator or meeting via Zoom, here are some things to consider. It's always a good idea to prepare an outline of your discussion points before the meeting. You can bring along any supplemental information as a leave behind to help make your case. Make sure to be on time for your appointment and stay within your scheduled meeting time. Being late and staying over your time is kind of rude. So make sure you don't do that. Legislators have busy schedules, especially during sessions. So you want to make a good impression. If for some reason you can't make the meeting or will be late, just contact their offices right away to let them know. Make use of the interim period, which is the period we are in now. They're more available. Their schedules are not as packed. And so it's a better time to meet with legislators. That said, you can still meet with them during session. Just be mindful that their schedules may not be as flexible. You always want to know your issue and be clear and factual when making your presentation. Be in command of your issue because when you are in command and understand your issue, it makes it easier for them to understand what it is you're trying to get them to support or oppose. This is important. Leave time for dialogue. You don't want to spend their entire time talking at your legislator. You want to give them enough time to be able to ask questions and have a dialogue with you. Senate President Kochi put it like this when discussing this issue and talking about meetings. He said we met with people, and he did this during the public forum. So he said he met with people for about 15 minutes or so, and they talked at him the whole time. So when they were done, they asked him, "What do you think?" And he said, "I think it's time for my next appointment." So that's just something to consider. You want to make sure that you have enough time for a back and forth. They can ask you questions. It'll be a much better meeting without having two sides communicate together. If you're bringing a group with you, you want to choose a spokesperson who is reliable and articulate and knowledgeable about the subject. And don't surprise the legislator by bringing somebody to the meeting that is not expected. Some legislators may not want to meet with you after that. So if somebody is coming, please let the offices know. And then be ready to answer questions. If you don't know, say so and follow up with them. And then depending on the mood and what you talk to them about, try to get ask for their support or action, and that'll make it better. Okay, so testimony is also a form of communication. So I'm going to talk about that for a little bit. Testimony is your personal position on views on a measure being considered by the legislature. You can testify only when a bill has been scheduled for a hearing by a committee. And please don't email your testimony to all members or committee members. Use the website. That's the way they want to receive testimony. And remember to sign up for hearing notices. So you receive those notices, and you'll get advance notice of when a bill has been scheduled for a hearing. Time is always short. Hearing notices are issued at least 48 hours prior to a hearing, but then the committee will ask that you submit testimony 24 hours before the hearing. If you miss the deadline, just try to send it in anyways. They may mark it as late, but still accept it as part of the public record. However, once a hearing starts, you won't be able to submit testimony, so prepare early. And the testimony cutoff for requesting to testify via Zoom may be very strict. At least that's what we noticed with the Senate last year. So you want to prepare as early as possible. Once a bill has been referred to committee, just draft your testimony out to that committee. If they schedule it, great. You can go ahead and send your testimony. If not, if you can use it in the next year, then that's good. So guidelines and instructions on how to submit your testimony will be listed on the hearing notice. You can submit just written testimony if you want, or submit written testimony and request to testify via Zoom. That's up to you, but you'll use the legislature's website to submit your testimony and make requests to testify remotely via Zoom. You want to let the committee know exactly what you want them to do with the measure. Please pass this measure. Please make the following amendments. Please defer this measure. Let them know what you want them to do. You want to keep your testimony short and highlight the most important parts, and use real life stories. Emotional stories can sometimes reach legislators, so if you have those, use those. You want to use your own words, so don't just sign on to a generic testimony template. Take what that testimony is asking and write it yourself and send it in as yourself. It will have much more of an impact that way. You want to be polite. Lawmaking is a difficult business, and sometimes legislators do things with legislation that we may not want them to do. Being rude, arrogant, or disrespectful will not help you achieve your goals, and actually, it can hurt you. So that may cut off a connection to some legislators, so you don't want to do that. And if you're giving oral testimony, standing on your written testimony or hitting on your main points is better than reading your testimony. The committee members have your written testimony. You want to be talking to them and bringing your testimony to life. Okay, here are some helpful suggestions just with advocacy. You want to make sure you're courteous and respectful. That will help you build a relationship with the legislators and their staff. Better relationships equals better results for you. You want to make use of legislative staff. Office managers, committee clerks, legislative aides, they can sometimes be your biggest allies in getting your message or your point position across to legislators. When contacting legislators about legislation, you want to always refer to the bill or resolution number. Legislators and their staff deal with thousands of bills, not thousands of bills and hundreds of resolutions, and many bills contain similar subject matter. So if a staff has to track that bill down, that takes time away from you, from helping you. If you need help finding a particular bill or resol, please call us at the public access room. We are really good at this, and we are always happy to help. Okay. Here are some additional advocacy tips. Relationships are very important and valuable. You want to take the time to build relationships, especially if you're working with your own senator and representative. They want to do the best job they can for you, so they'll be more receptive and open. When dealing with legislation, always identify which committees or legislators have ownership over your bill and issue. That will help you focus where and with whom you need to work. Be energetic and enthusiastic when discussing your bill or ideas with the legislator. If you don't believe what you say, they won't either. Find allies to help support your cause, to make your job easier. An ally could be an advocacy group or simply a friend who lives in a particular legislator's district. Seek out people that can help. You want to reach out and develop ties with those who share your views or who may already have relationships with key legislators. They can be helpful in getting your message across. And find your opposition and be prepared to negotiate. Sometimes something is better than nothing. You know, legislators have to negotiate too as well. Finally, using graphics or visuals is a great way to convey your message. So consider adding those if possible. If you don't mind, I'm going to go back to one slide. I think I missed a couple of bullet points. Oh yeah, so we talked about knowing your issue. Follow up. If you haven't heard back from a legislator, again, try a different method of communication. Just keep at it. Sometimes it's a difficult, track, but you wanna continue working towards, building a relationship or getting results. So you have to make sure that you follow up with them and just don't assume that they're gonna get back to you. Okay, that ends the PowerPoint presentation. There's a lot of text on the last couple of slides. We are recording this video, so you'll have lots of time to go back over it and review the points that we talked about. You can call us at 587-0478 or email us at par@capital.hawaii.gov. We have a Facebook page, a Twitter account. Please visit our website, lrb.hawaii.gov. There's lots and lots of information there. I will stop sharing my screen and I will be happy to answer any questions that you guys may have. Okay, Virginia.
Thank you, Keanu. I just wanted to say, if you have any questions, that would be great. Or if you have any advocacy tips you'd like to share. Some of the people watching tonight have a lot of experience they can share as well. Just unmute yourself and go for it.
Yeah, go ahead, Kat. You just have to unmute yourself. You're still muted.
One thing that I learned in my years of advocacy is get to know the staff, because you can't always, especially during the session, it's really hard to meet with the legislator. So get to know the staff. Every legislator has an office manager, a person who handles constituent issues, and committee clerk. So know who they are and, build a relationship with them, because they can really help you. understand things. So I think that's really important. This is a great presentation, Keanu. I really thought the PowerPoint was great.
Thank you. Yeah, as a former staffer at the House, I can attest to what Kat mentioned. A lot of times they can be your biggest advocates, and just great allies in getting your point, getting your position across to a legislator. So yeah, relationship. It's one thing that you're going to learn at the Capitol. It's all about relationships, and so communicating with them, opening a lot of communication, getting to know them and their staff. That's a great way to build those relationships. And when you start building those relationships, you'll have easier access to these legislators. Or if you're working for a nonprofit, you're going to be having relationships with members of the committees that your bills will be going through. So yeah, establish those relationships, reach out to them. That's important.
They have more access to the legislator than we do. So you really want to make them champions for your cause, because then when push comes to shove, the staff is meeting with the legislator and you want somebody in that room who's going to push your bill.
That's true. Okay, Kylie, I know Virginia answered your question. Stephanie, anytime estimate on the Capitol reopening, we don't know. So that's going to be a decision that has to be made between the governor, between DAGs, and the legislature. So I think they're having that discussion right now. We're closed and we don't know when we're going to reopen. Of course, Virginia and I would be happy to have people in our office again. So yeah, we're just waiting like everybody else on when the Capitol building is open, but we don't know. Hopefully, as we get closer to session, we'll have a better idea when that's going to happen. Okay. Todd's asking if legislators are meeting with constituents now. Are they doing town halls, Zooms, lunches? Probably all of that, Todd. And that just depends on the legislators themselves. Town hall meetings may be a little bit difficult now. They can do that via Zoom, probably. Some may be doing that. Some may be having just, meetings with constituents via Zoom. So I think, or people are not allowed to come into the building right now. So, the legislators and their staff, have to be creative in how they can talk to their constituents. And so I believe all of those things are happening. And again, it just depends on which legislator you're talking about. Some are a little bit more proactive than others in reaching out to their constituents. So yeah. So guest is wondering if legislators realize they work for the people or they expect us to chase them down to get their attention. That's a good question. I mean, I believe they do realize they work for the people because we're a representative democracy. We vote them to office, we elect our representatives. And if they're not doing a good job, then they get voted out of office. So sometimes it is upon, our responsibility to kind of chase them down for things. I think it's a two-way street. And so, but I think it's important for legislators to be accountable, to respond to their constituents, but also constituents have to reach out to them too. We just can't expect them to come to us just because they're in that position. It's a two-way street.
Yeah, I was going to say one of the things is that it's really good to let them know that you're watching and that you're paying attention to what they're doing, because we don't want the legislators to be doing this all on their own. They really need to hear from people to make the best laws.
Yeah, that's true. It does take the public getting involved. Like I mentioned earlier, legislators don't have all the answers on all the issues. They're just people like us. And then they get educated, via the committee hearing process, but that's where the public comes in providing our expertise, for our own issues that we're advocating for. So that's always important. Does anybody have any other questions or suggestions for future? Okay, I'll answer your question, Joy. Or for future types of presentations, let us know. You can either let us know here or email us or give us a call. Joy is asking what the rules are for sending things to legislators, like if you're lobbying about plant-based issues. agriculture impact on climate change? Can we send them plant-based packaging food to try? Or is this illegal? So, well, now with the new, it wasn't illegal before. I think there was a threshold of amount of a product or amount of a gift. And anything over that would have to be recorded. Virginia, do you have any? Do you know?
Yeah, so what I would say is you'd want to be conscious of the ethics guidelines. And, you know, maybe if they couldn't accept a product, you could perhaps provide something for them to look at and return to you, or something like that might be a way kind of around that. But I'm not an ethics specialist, so I don't know.
Yeah, things are getting.
And I think it's $25.
Yeah.
Yes.
$25. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's some type of amount added to that. So I guess if there's other ways of reaching out, in fact sheets, information to legislators that can be helpful as well. What about lunch and learn when things open back up? Yeah, I guess that's something. I mean, it just depends on what the guidelines are, right? With COVID, you know, some people may be hesitant about meeting with a big group of people. So that just kind of depends on, you know, on the legislators, on how comfortable they feel, and, you know, how the pandemic is in January. I think this is kind of a fluid situation.
And the ethics guidelines, again, just on whether they can accept that lunch or not. It's really worth checking in with the ethics folks. I think they'll be very straight ahead with you. Yeah, and some legislators are more cognizant of that kind of thing than others, I'm sure.
And this is Joy, just wanted to get that question answered because I've always wondered this. I have lobby friends who do this in other states, especially lunch and learns when it's an agriculture issue. But so you're saying there's an ethics committee I can call and ask them about these things?
Yes, there's a state ethics commission, and you can probably find it by Googling, or just give us a call tomorrow in the office and we'll be happy to give you the information.
Okay, awesome. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Very good presentation.
Thank you. Guess I had a question. She's asking if anybody had success in reaching out to legislators and if legislators have taken their suggestions into consideration. That's a great question. And so if anybody has experience, you know, every legislator is different in the way they handle their communications. Some may be more receptive than others, but there's always things that we can do to try to help that along. So if anybody has experience, please feel free to put it into the chat. We'll be happy to know.
Keanu?
Yes.
I think one thing, can you hear me?
Yes.
I think one thing that would be helpful would be to do some sort of webinar on conference, which is like a black box. Nobody really, I mean, how does it work? And how does a bill that has, you know, past 10 different committees die in conference? How does that happen? And, you know, I think that's something that confuses. I mean, I've been around a long time and I've been shocked.
Well, you're in good company, Kat, because I think even legislators get confused by the conference period. But we do actually have, we've done conference presentations before. We have some, and you know, that's something to consider when the time rolls around.
Yeah.
There is a conference. We recorded the conference webinar that we did, and it's available on our YouTube page.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Yeah. You guys are so amazing. I am so grateful. You know, we're the only place that has a public access room where people can go in and use the computers and ask questions and type their testimony. These guys are awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we're running off a lot of things to talk about. I mean, we pretty much talked about everything.
Actually, Keanu, I have one suggestion. This is also Joy. Yes, another, which I was wondering if other states had a team like you, and if they don't, we are so blessed to have you guys. But I noticed David put in the chat about, yes, he's had success. So this would be really helpful for us if when you do, either you could intersperse it with other topics, but if you have examples of people who are like, put all of these best practices totally into like a case study example, like I did the email, then the phone call, this was my issue, this is what happened, and then this bill, and we suggested that they do an amendment to the bill, and that this is the strategy we took. Case study, local examples of people would be great addition to everything you're teaching us. It would be inspiring. So that's my suggestion.
Okay, thank you. That's a good suggestion, and we've had experience with that before.
That's a great suggestion. The thing we have to be so careful about in the public access room is that we're nonpartisan and we can't take a position on any issue. And it gets really political really fast when we start talking about a specific issue. Yeah. So maybe we could do that and maybe disguise the issue as something made up and use the real life example. But I think that's a great suggestion. Thanks.
Carrie is asking, how do we encourage state agencies to testify rather than stand on their testimony so the community can hear their testimony, respond to concerns, or offer different perspectives in real time? That's a good question. The reason why they stand on their testimony is because when you elaborate too much on the testimony, the committee members may call them up and ask them questions. So I think they're trying to stay kind of quiet and tiny. You can talk to the committee members or the chairs, and maybe they can ask whatever concerns you may have about agency's position. Ask them to ask those questions if they're testifying in person. That would be one suggestion. Do you have any other ideas, Virginia?
I think that's a great suggestion. And it can be challenging because even if the testimony is put up at the time of the hearing, you're trying to follow the hearing, it's hard to then turn around and read the testimony and try to incorporate some of that into your own. So I would say for subsequent committee hearings, you could certainly approach the legislators and say, the department said this, and I'm questioning whether that's accurate or, what the implications are, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Any other questions, suggestions, or stories that anybody else wants to share?
Everybody should testify. The government is us. We are the government.
Yeah. And before I log off,
when we don't speak up, then we are turning our power over to other people. If you have something you're really passionate about, get in there and testify.
Yeah. I think one of the most discouraging things is when I see a bill being considered at a hearing that I think is really important and no one shows up to testify.
Yeah.
It kind of hits my heart, and I just, sometimes it's that people don't even know that the hearings are going on. And that's where the public access room can really help you to identify the bills that might interest you and to help you get engaged in the process. Would be happy to help you out.
I just wanted to echo one of the things that was on Keanu's slides that is maybe not as intuitive for folks, and that is to seek out your opponents or even advocates who are sort of on the same side but have a different perspective on what you're trying to do. This is Steph Kendrick, from Hawaiian Humane Society. We finally got a tethering bill passed last session after 7 attempts. And really the key, there were 2 keys. One was that we got a really strong legislative champion for the bill this year, but also we were able to get all of the animal advocates to agree on language, which is something that hadn't really happened in the prior years. And so I would just encourage folks to take Keanu's advice on that. And even if it means some difficult conversations, you know, the more you can present a united front to our lawmakers, the better your chances of getting your bill passed.
Thanks, Steph. Thanks for sharing.
One more hint, as Steph mentioned, bills, you know, take many years sometimes. So it's really good to go back and read the testimony from prior iterations of that legislative measure, so that you actually get a landscape view. You can figure out who's for, who's against, who you might be able to, you know, approach. But, you know, you should really know it. And when I go in, I always tell them, because I work on justice issues, I always tell them, well, the prosecutors are going to come in and say this, and this is why I'm pushing this, because, and then I cite different research so that, you know, they know that I'm just not in there on one track. I'm actually looking at the whole picture.
Thank you, Kat. Anybody else with anything to share? Any experiences? Okay, we
Thanks,
finished pretty.
Keanu.
Yeah, you're welcome, Virginia. Yeah, thank you for presenting the last 3 weeks. This was the last of our series of presentations. So if you guys have suggestions, again, for future presentations, Kat Brady mentioned conference committee, which can be a pretty confusing period of time for legislators, for legislative staff, for everybody pretty much. We've been through enough to understand it, though things can change. So, you know, if you have, you know, requests for different types of presentations that we, you know, that we don't have, we could put together, let us know. You know, our job is to make sure that you have the tools to be able to participate in the process, and you know, you're helping us do our jobs good too. So let us know. All right, everybody, take care. Thank you.
Aloha.
Bye-bye.
And so just end recording.